Dear humans, I stand here today not for myself, but for every tail wagger, sloppy kisser, and curtain ninja. I stand here for each one of the thousands of dogs and cats killed in shelters each day, asking you to join our cause and help us make sure every best friend has a chance to meet one of their own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge, and your help, we can save them all.
Douglas. If you're thinking about adopting a dog or a cat, please consider going to the Sylacauga Animal Shelter and meeting some of the dogs and cats that we have out there. The shelter is full and we are desperately trying to find homes for all of the dogs there and the cats, and you also have the opportunity to go to PetSense to see the cats there. We've got 4 cages there and we rotate cats from the foster system with Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill and the shelter through PetSense. And we have a big adoption event happening at PetSense at the end of April, so make sure to watch the Facebook page for PetSense, for Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill, for the Sylacauga Animal Shelter. Just watch all of those pages and you'll be able to get more information about what's happening there. But speaking of those dogs at the shelter, we have one of our most valuable dog walkers and volunteers at the shelter here with us today. We have Ashley Cunningham. And we've got a dog up on the screen right now that's one of the dogs that I was watching her walk on Saturday. So Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the show. Now let's talk about, because you've been volunteering for quite some time now,
yep,
and you've really become such a really great member of the dog walking team, and we can know that if you're there, that there are a lot of dogs that are going to get walked.
Thank you.
So how did you decide to come out and walk dogs?
I moved up here about a year ago, and I noticed that there were a lot of stray animals in the community, and I wanted to see how I could help. And I spoke to Stephanie, the manager at the shelter, and she said that they were in great need of dog walkers on the weekends, so I started volunteering.
And I have to tell you, we're so glad that you're here, because I was talking to Ashley after she had been working with us walking dogs for so long, and she informed me she wasn't quite here yet, that she was still a Florida resident, and I panicked because it's so good to have her there with us. So I'm glad that you're officially here and can help quite a bit. Now let's talk about walking those dogs, because we have a great group that comes out and we have a lot of people that float in and out. What's your experience walking dogs?
I think it's just a great way to get the dogs out of the shelter, to get them some exposure not only to people, but to different smells, get them used to walking on a leash, kind of helps them get some of that energy out and lets you see what their real personality is like. For instance, the dog that was just on the screen, Pluto, when you pass him at the shelter in his kennel, he's bouncing up and down like a pogo stick. He looks a little crazy, but that's just because he's in Pluto, his kennel.
He does not present well in his kennel.
He's
a beautiful dog.
He is, and I think that's just one of the reasons why he's maybe had a little trouble getting adopted. But when you have him out on a leash, he walks perfectly. He's friendly to people. He kind of just ignores other dogs. So, I think he'd be a great dog for somebody once they can kind of see past his initial reaction when he's in his kennel. So
I was quite surprised on Saturday when I saw you walk by with him, because I didn't even recognize him, because he does seem nuts in his kennel. But that's where it's so important to have the dog walkers and have the volunteers come out, because if you just saw Pluto in that kennel, you would think there is no way that I'm going to adopt that dog. But then you realize when you pull him out, he's a great dog.
Yep, exactly. And some dogs just have that kind of barrier reactivity when they're in their kennels. It's, not really their fault. They're just used to being in there and don't know who's walking by. But when he got out and about, he was a great dog.
And that's a win as far as the dog walking goes, is to know that we can meet those dogs better and get them out, because you can't know their personalities just from sitting in a kennel.
Definitely. And I think there's so many that when you get them out of those kennels, they're just completely different dogs, and it really helps. Lily, he is here up on the screen now. Lily's another example. She has been at the shelter for about a year. She's a year and a half now, and she's just a great dog, just super sweet, very cuddly dog. So she would make a great pet for somebody as well.
And she's our official pet of the week. So go out to meet Lily. She's in one of the outdoor kennels right now. She shares a kennel with another dog, so we know she's dog friendly.
Yeah, she's dog friendly,
And she's just a great dog. I'm I cannot imagine why she's still at the shelter, as
yeah.
sweet as she is, and all of the dog walkers just love her.
And she is spayed and ready to go home, I believe.
She is good to go. So if you come out to meet her, then that's you can tell she's just sweet.
She is.
Period.
She is. I would say she's probably about like a medium to high energy dog. Gets along great with other dogs. She's been paired with another one, Grant, for a while, so she'd be a great dog.
And we should have her at the adoption event. We're going to try to have all dogs that are from the shelter that are fixed and ready to go, so that if you come out to PetSense, and there's Lily again, that you can meet any of these dogs and know that you could take them home that day. But certainly we'd love to have her adopted before the adoption event.
Yes.
She's coming up on her year anniversary at the shelter, and she's
ready to get out of there.
She needs out. But as we're looking at these dogs on the screen and some of these pictures that come up, we talked about dog walking. We have we actually have a great area to walk out there.
Yes, definitely.
And so we encourage people that even if you just like to walk for exercise, to come out and take a dog with you.
That's also one of the benefits of why I like doing it. It gets me out and about. I know that the summer days are a little less fun because of the weather, but right now is a perfect time to be out walking dogs. The weather is beautiful, so definitely get out there, gets you some exercise, gets the dogs exercise. It's a win-win.
Now, this is Sierra, so
Yes.
we've got a couple of things to talk about with Sierra, because we were flowing from dog walking into also you can do doggy day outs.
Yes.
And you've done that. Now, Sierra's one you fostered, so we'll talk about fostering too, but let's morph from dog walking to doggy day outs, because you can go and get a dog at the shelter and take them out for a period of time.
So the great thing about doggy day outs is, if you can't make it on Saturdays to walk dogs, or maybe you just have a couple hours in the middle of the week and you want to be able to help the dogs at the shelter, you can stop by. There's several different dogs that would be available to go out for doggy day outs. You can take them out, walk around downtown with them, maybe take them to a dog-friendly restaurant. You could take them on a hiking trail, maybe just take them to your house and hang out for a couple of hours. I've done all of those different things, and it's a really good chance to give the dogs some exposure to the public. We have little backpacks now that we can send out with people, and we're going to have little cards that will have the shelter's information. So if you run into somebody that is interested in one of the dogs that you're taking on a little doggy day out, you can give them the information and they can stop by the shelter and hopefully adopt the dog.
That's a great idea. And that picture of Sierra looked like she was at Home Depot, and that's a place where where most people go to PetSense or Home Depot or Starbucks to get them a pup cup, and then so they get a lot of exposure in those situations.
Yeah, that was.
And again, you get so much information from taking them out. You can see how they do in a car. You can see how they do in a busy situation. You got a lot of information to give a potential adopter.
Yes, definitely.
And so there's a lot of benefit to people adopting dogs, especially from our shelter, because we've got more information about these dogs now.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I really love about taking them out on the little field trips is, you're learning about them, but you're also giving them a chance to kind of expand their boundaries and learn more about,
about the world.
Exactly.
Because their world has been that kennel
small,
or just outside in the yard at the shelter.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned that Sierra, that wasn't a picture of a doggy day out, although that could have been a doggy day out. You actually fostered her.
Yes.
So tell us about the fostering experience that you had.
It's so similar to doggy day outs. The great thing about fostering dogs is giving them a chance to have a little decompression from the shelter, especially some of the ones who have been there more long term. So I had the opportunity to foster Calliope and then his sister Sierra. They were both from the same litter. Fostered them back to back. Both of them luckily did get adopted, but the great thing about that was I was able to take them out in public, see how they did, have them interact and play with my dog, who it's great benefit for her because she gets a new buddy every couple of weeks, and really just learn more about their personality and work with them on, maybe some training, if it's crate training, so that you can tell a potential adopter, yes, this dog will do great with crate training. Any just sort of leash manners, things like that. So it's a great chance for them to get a little decompression time from the shelter too. And fostering can be, you can do it for just a couple of days, or you can hold on to them until they find a home. So yeah.
And then you can also, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, the shelter will offer to have you foster that particular dog to see how it does in your household before you adopt.
Yes,
and so there's a lot of things that fostering can do for us.
Definitely.
And the dog is not officially yours if you're fostering, so the shelter is still paying for everything.
Yeah.
And so you're not, you just are providing a home and love for a dog.
Exactly. So with Sierra, you know, she's still, the shelter still covered her monthly heartworm preventative and flea preventative. So, you know, I just had to bring her back for that, and she was great.
And that's amazing that you were able to foster both of them
Thanks.
and find them homes, because
Yeah.
those were big dogs and
They are,
high
yeah.
energy dogs. They were
Yeah.
sweet, but boy,
Yeah.
they needed out of those kennels.
Yeah, and sometimes you just can't see their full personality when they're in the kennels, but you know, when you get them out, you realize they're just such amazing dogs. So that's just all they need is a chance, and people to give them a chance and a little more exposure.
Yeah. Now, with those two particular dogs, they went to local families, or
Yes,
okay,
they did. Yep.
And then you said that you're going to foster again at some point. So.
Yes, yep. Hoping to be able to foster another dog soon. Right now, just waiting. My mom is coming up for a visit with her dog, which it was actually a stray dog that we found in Childersburg. So she was able to adopt that puppy. It lives in Florida now with her. So she's going to come up. We're going to try to do a little training with him first. he's a handful. But then hopefully I'll be able to not adopt, but foster another dog soon.
That's great. Now, let's talk for just a minute, because doing the fostering, you learn a lot about their personalities, because they have that 3-3-3 rule, the 3-day,
Yes.
3-week, 3-month kind of rule with
Yes.
adopting a dog and its personality. And it's
Yeah.
good for people to understand that, so they know that they can still be a successful
Definitely.
member of their family.
Yeah, so, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it's, 3 days for a dog to start to feel comfortable once it's in your home, 3 weeks for it to kind of start opening up, showing its personality, and 3 months to feel totally at home. So I think, one of the things that sometimes happens with adoptions is people adopt a dog and expect that it's gonna fit right in at their home right away. And a lot of times the dogs are excited to be there, but maybe the shelter has been their home for a while, so this is a totally new environment. So one thing with fostering that I always try to do is very slow introductions to my dog at home, just to make sure that they're both gonna get along and not feel, intimidated or possessive of the space. And then just try to slowly integrate them and give the dog the time it needs to get used to being in a new environment.
That's a great way to put it, because you can't expect a dog that's been in the shelter to walk in your home and just immediately be comfortable and be that family
Yes.
dog that everybody
Yeah.
loves, because it does take some time. They have to decompress after being in
but
that shelter.
they will get there. They
Yeah.
just need the new owner to give them a little time. So yeah.
And then of course, if you get a dog from the foster system, they've already decompressed some. They're
That
not in
is
your
nice.
household yet,
Exactly.
but they decompressed from the shelter. So
Yeah.
that's an extremely unique situation to be able to adopt a dog from foster, like Calliope
Yes.
and Sierra did from you.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
So, and we just certainly appreciate everything you
thank
do for
you.
the shelter. I mean, it's amazing to have somebody in the community like you that is so dedicated to helping
Thank you.
these dogs. And Ashley's also, she's sponsoring another dog at the shelter, Baxter, to go to Meredith Dempsey at For the Love of Dogs. So we've talked to Meredith a couple of times on the show, and she has a boarding and training facility in Alabaster. And so we're hoping that Baxter, he's been at the shelter too long too, but we're hoping that Baxter will find a home. And that's another unique opportunity to be able to adopt from that kind of situation too, because Meredith knows a
so
lot
much,
about behavior, and she can
Yes.
tell you so much about the dog. But
Yes,
I think we got a great thing going at the shelter here.
I think so too. Yeah, the shelter does so much amazing work with the animals that they have there. But they could really use the help for anybody who is able to come out on Saturdays for a couple of hours, or if you can't do Saturdays, do a doggy day out maybe some other time. So.
And we're there every Saturday from 11 to 1 walking dogs. And if you're interested in fostering, you can call the shelter if you want to foster one of the shelter dogs. And Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill, our local rescue, also has fostering opportunities for puppies. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill as well. And we just appreciate you and appreciate all the help that we have from the community. And we hope to see everyone this Saturday from 11 to 1 walking dogs. I'm sure Ashley will be
I'll be
there.
there.
And then we also are going to have that adoption event at PetSense. So be on the lookout for more information, and I'll announce more information the closer we get to the adoption event as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have more Daybreak after these messages.